My father's family came from Egypt. My mother's family came from India, and I was brought up in London, England, in a Muslim family. We would go to the mosque. My father was very strict in his prayer life, and so that's the atmosphere and the environment that we were brought up in. Even though we were living in England, we were still holding on to our belief, holding on to our faith, and we would pray, we would, what they call Ramzan, we would fast. We would pray, we would, what they call Ramzan, we would fast. Okay, we would go to the mosque, we would have the Quran, we would have the prayer mat, and that is the lifestyle, that is what I was brought up in London, fully believing that that's the only way to live, and that was the only religion, that was the only. I had attained a six-figure income. I could drive a car that I wanted, I could live where I wanted, and everything that I dreamed of happening, it happened. And instead of being excited, instead of being fulfilled, there was an emptiness inside. There was something missing inside, and I didn't know what it was. And I started searching at different places to find out what was it. I thought that if I had financial success, I had everything. I thought that if I had financial success, I had everything. I thought that if I had financial success, I had everything. I thought that if I had financial success, I had everything. I met this young lady, and she had invited me to her parents' home for dinner. Shingles, blisters, temperature 107.6, brain damage, and then chickenpox at the same time. I mean, my body was starting to shut down. This young lady that I had met who brought me to the hospital sat there by the bedside. She was the only one that sat there. No one else would come in without gloves and masks. The very people that I had my trust in, my hope in, had now given up on me and left me to die. Who do you turn to? Who do you turn to when the ones that you're counting on to make you better said there's nothing they can do? I opened my eyes. I cried out to God. And I said, God, if you're real. And I said, God, if you're real. And I said, God, if you're real, help me. It just was a fear on the inside. I didn't know what was on the other side. I didn't know what was on the other side, but I was afraid of it. And I cried out, and I said, God, help me. I believed in Allah. I believed in Muhammad. And I cried out for them to help me. I cried out for them to help me. I cried out for them to help me. I was in pain. I was suffering. I was about to die. The doctors had given up on me. And I'm here to tell you that when I made that cry, something happened that night in the hospital room. I did not get a response from Muhammad. I did not get a response from Muhammad. I stood under that shower for 1.5 hours praying to this Jesus. Under that shower for 1.5 hours praying to this Jesus. Every single blister, one time, fell from my head, from my face, from my ear, from my neck, from my chest, from my shoulder. From my back, fell totally. The skin was red like raw meat. And for the first time, I started to shake. Even the Muslims believe that if you ask them, are you going to heaven? They will say, Inshallah. What does that mean? Well, I hope so. Inshallah. What does that mean? Well, I hope so. Inshallah. What does that mean? Well, I hope so. all of a sudden, reading the Bible, I find out that I have sinned, but this time God sent His Son Jesus to die on the cross. Why? To pay the price for my sins, so that I don't have to what got me excited, that I can know for sure. And you know, the other thing that I learned when I was a Muslim was that there is one exception to the good works and the bad works, and it was called jihad. And jihad is when you would die for your cause. And jihad is when you would die for your cause. And jihad is when you would die for your cause. And jihad is when you would die for your cause. And jihad is when you would die for your cause. And so I say to those of you that are watching, those of you Muslims that are watching, just like me, I believed everything you believe. I was brought up in that home. I was brought up in that lifestyle. I thought that the other people, the Christians, the Jews, they were all bad. I fully believed that we were the only race, that we were to take Islam all over the world. That was